Welcome into Pushing the Pile. I'm Mike Renner. He's Kyle Long, and it's our first ever mock draft. We're going to go back and forth, pick by pick, 32 teams, 32 picks because there hasn't been a trade yet.
Yep.
But it's kind of smokescreen season. We're seeing a bunch of different reports, whether it's Ashton Genty going 5 overall. We're seeing Shedeur Sanders could fall out of the first round. But we're going to give our back and forth and give what we think is going to happen in this mock.
Well, first off, as it pertains to these smoke screens we hear about, and even upstairs when we come into the studio, we get hounded by producers. What do you think of this smoke screen? What do you think of that smoke screen? Let me be honest with you. We did our mock draft. We've done our scouting. We've had our conversations about the draft, and I've shut it down. I'm off of social media. My brother
Zero dark 30,
my brother this morning, he's like, "Did you watch Last of Us?" And I'm like, no. I'm just hiding in my cave until the draft show with Mike Renner on CBS Sports on Tops. That's going to be this coming week. A lot of fun to have you, but let's get right into it with this mock draft, Mike.
Okay, let's do it. I got the number 1 overall pick since you wanted evens because a certain team drafts number 10 overall that I used to play for, and I wanted odds because a certain team that I'm the owner of is drafting number 23 overall. So let's get to the Tennessee Titans, where I am going Cam Ward, the Miami quarterback. No surprise here. I think it's not really a secret at this point in time. The guy's pro day was one of the best pro days I've seen. His ascension from, running the wing tee in high school to Incarnate Word to Washington State to then Miami, and just every single test along the way he's passed and gotten better year after year. Not obviously as good as the top group in last year's class. I think I'd have him behind all 3 of those guys that won 1, 2, 3. But it's not like, look at how that quarterback class fared as rookies. It's not as if Cam Ward can't completely turn around this Tennessee Titans franchise.
Yeah, I think it's a great pick. Obviously, being down here in South Florida, the University of Miami was on TV every single Saturday, and I'd always get my hair cut at a barbershop called the Nice Barbershop in Boca Raton. Great spot. They do a lot of great work. I need to go see them, actually. I need to get a fade. But they would always watch the Miami game, and they'd always say, hey, you got to watch this Cam Ward guy. He's going to go number 1. He's going to go number 1. And that argument started to build steam, and now we're sitting here. And Mike Renner, the brilliant mind that he is, picks Cam Ward. I trust you. It's a great getting off the dock point for us. At number 2, the Cleveland Browns. They've got really, really, really crazy decisions to make here. Obviously, they have been in hot water at the quarterback position with Deshaun Watson, but as it pertains to their roster, they can really make their strength, which is a superhuman strength with an edge rusher like Myles Garrett, they can make it even stronger. I would say my slam dunk pick, I'm sprinting to Roger Goodell with this note card in hand. It's going to be Abdul Carter.
Ooh, I love it.
Put these 2 edge rushers opposite one another. It's going to give nightmares to every single coordinator every single week. Game plans are going to have to get really creative to find ways to eliminate or try to slow down any way you can these 2 players. And enough talking about Myles. This guy, Abdul Carter, to me, has better than elite level change of direction.
Yeah, man.
Explosion. And his frame is one that has no wasted space on it. He's built like a cobblestone block. And yes, I know that there's some issues. He's had the shoulder, the foot that came up this offseason. But Abdul Carter, as an offensive lineman, when I look at what he can do, it gives me nightmares. It would keep me up as a tackle. I pray to God the coach would keep me at guard for this game because Abdul Carter's a nightmare. That's my number 2 pick.
The one thing that you didn't touch there, just to add, it was in his very first year as an edge rusher. Like, we've talked about, how great he is as an edge rushing prospect, how great he is. Dude could get insanely better. Like, we're still projecting. That's still the beauty of this, is you're still trying to figure out what that guy can be in 3 years. And for how good he was in, 9 months of learning the position of rushing the passer off the edge to what he could be then with 4 more years of seasoning with that physical skill set, Abdul Carter, to me, is the number 2 overall pick on the Cleveland Browns. But we'll see what they do, obviously, on Thursday night. But then the obvious pick at number 3, should they go Abdul Carter at 2, is Travis Hunter. You are picking, if you're the New York Giants, you are picking whichever one of Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter there, in my opinion. I am not looking at this quarterback class. I have a massive gap between Cam Ward and QB2 on my draft board. I do not have a massive gap between Cam Ward and Travis Hunter. The guy is nails. Him, Abdul Carter, and Cam Ward, those are like the blue chip guys you want at the top of this draft. So Travis Hunter, pairing with Malik Neighbors, gives whoever plays quarterback there a leg up.
Number 4, the New England Patriots. And there's been a lot of talk about a lot of players in the offensive line. Who's number one? Who's number two? Well, I don't necessarily think that this guy is my consensus number one, but the fit is there with the New England Patriots. They need help at the receiver position, and they need help at the offensive line, particularly the tackle position. Will Campbell provides you that stability, that versatility. Big number 66. He's done. He has the ability to do it all. He's got the build to play either tackle, guard, or center. And when I think about the New England Patriots and all that they've done over the course of their storied history, in the last 20 years, they've seen a lot of guys play on the defensive side of the ball, be able to interchange positionally, get off the ball, play linebacker, get at the edge, and rush the passer. When I think that the new age New England Patriots, they should lean on having guys with strengths at any position offensively, whether it be receivers that can help Drake May from the slot or outside or in the backfield, offensive linemen that at the drop of a hat can kick inside a guard. I love Will Campbell's tenacity, his competitiveness. I've heard him speak at the podium. It's fabulous. But what I love most about him is his recovery ability and pass protection. And there are often times where he seems to be beat at the beginning of a play that he competes his way back and out-leverages his way back into a position of dominance on a pass rush. That's what I like most about him. And I think he's a Vrabel-type guy.
I think he's, of the top group of tackles, I think he's most NFL ready. In terms of just like the guy's played 3 years in the SEC. He started as a true freshman. Now, so did Kelvin Banks. Now, obviously not in the SEC the entire time, but 3 years as a starter. Armand Membu took over as starter midway through his freshman year. So all those guys were showing talent very early on to be starting in their freshman seasons. But Will Campbell, just technically, consistency in terms of his hand usage, in terms of his footwork, it's probably the best in this draft class. I just have a little bit more concerns with him and his physical profile translating to the next level, the wingspan and whatnot. But for the New England Patriots,
put him at guard, make him an all-pro. Put him at center, make him one of the best in the National Football League. Offensive linemen get very expensive very quickly. Get them on your roster when they're young and kicking ass for cheap, and you don't have to worry about that headache financially.
All right, number 5, Jacksonville Jaguars. This pick is kind of where it really gets up in the air. I think those first 4 picks have been pretty chalky if you look around the mock draft sphere. This is where we've seen Ashton Genty, the Boise State running back, go. This is where we've seen Tet McMillan be a possibility, the Arizona wide receiver. But I'm going to go Mason Graham, the Michigan defensive lineman. To me, he is the cleanest defensive lineman after Abdul Carter. It just, maybe he doesn't have the elite traits of some of these other defensive tackles. Maybe he's not, the prototype for the position. But he uses his hands, and when he takes on blocks, it looks like a guy who's in his 5th year in the NFL. He just has that down pat to his game. And then even if he's not like this strong, physically imposing specimen, he's super agile. And that, for a defensive tackle, that's where more often than not you're winning in the trenches. It's either with power or with that quickness, and he's got that quickness down pat. So for a Jaguars team that really needs an interior disruptor to go alongside those other edge guys that were top draft picks, Mason Graham can be that guy.
And you talk about the offensive tackle and how important playing in the SEC is. When I think about a defensive tackle, I'd hate to play in the Big Ten as well, because there's a lot of action in there, a lot of talent at the running back position, interior offensive linemen all over the board this year from the Pac-12, Big Ten. I played in the Pac-12. It's the Big Ten
Pac-2.
now. The Pac-2 as it is now. Mason Graham, like you said, clean, get him in there. And at number 6, I feel like another guy that's going to step into his jersey and look the part immediately from day one. When I think about the Raiders pick, they've got Chip Kelly on the offensive side of the ball there. So I have to look back at Ohio State and think about some of the things that they implemented that have changed over the years with Chip Kelly. When I played for Chip, we wanted to spread the field as wide as possible. We always had a kick-ass running back. I think about DeAnthony Thomas, Kenyon Barner, the names, it goes on and on and on. We can continue to name names at running back there. He's going to go with Ashton Genty. Pete Carroll's going to pair that offense with the 2 tight ends, similar to what they did at Ohio State. They're going to run wild at the running back position. It's going to open things up for Geno Smith. I see it being a tailor-made pick, and there's a lot of people out there who really want Ashton Genty that are further down the board, and they're going to have to just clean up their mascara a little bit, because this guy is special. He really is.
Yeah, I don't often advocate drafting running backs this highly, but if you want a sick, dominant running game at the NFL level, I think Ashton Genty is fully capable of giving you one, especially behind the Raiders' offensive line. It's pretty darn good right now. You really just need DJ Glaze, your third rounder from last year, to take a step forward at right tackle, and you should have a top 10 offensive line in the NFL, should they be healthy. All right, let's recap the top 6 here. Cam Ward goes 1 to the Titans. Abdul Carter, number 2 to the Browns. Travis Hunter goes number 3 to the Giants. Will Campbell to the Pats. Mason Graham to the Jags. And then Ashton Genty at number 6 to the Raiders. We got picks 7 through 12 coming up right after this. All right, we're picking up the mock draft with pick 7 here. New York Jets on the clock.
Dun, 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 dun,
we got Ted McMillan there, T-Mac, the Arizona wide receiver, to be their number 2. But I'm going Armand Membu, the Missouri right tackle. You have this budding offensive line right now. You have the makings of what could be, go back to like DeBrickashaw, Ferguson, Nick Mangold days when they were in the AFC Championship games and just pounding the rock. It could be that caliber of offensive line where even Justin Fields could have some success behind it. No offense. But Olu Fashanu, John Simpson, Joe Tippmann, Elijah Vera Tucker, Armand Membu, that is the makings of something special. And Membu's just a freak, dude. And again, a guy who's played only right tackle. So if you have a right tackle need, I would prefer him to any of the left tackles. He's just done it.
Membu finishes people like it's like watching me eat a plate of bacon at 9 a.m. with a cup of coffee. It's just like I'm enjoying myself. This guy plays football like it's me eating bacon. He just has fun. He's finishing guys down the football field. He's violent. He's trash talking. He's perfect for New York. The Tri-State will love him. And for Justin Fields in that offense, when I think about what their identity is going to have to be, they're going to have to be sharp and physical at the line of scrimmage. This is a way to further that MO and identity. You mentioned the other players that are in the room. And if Justin Fields isn't the answer for the long term, this is a great way to get that King's Guard ready to roll when they do bring in the guy that's going to take them to the next level.
Because you'll know very quickly. Justin Fields, the whole criticism of, he never had the weapons of the offensive line with New York. Well, he's got the offensive line here. And now you have pick in the second round where you're probably going to be able to find him a weapon. You could very, very quickly find out if Justin Fields has that next gear in him in year 5.
Okay, at the number 8 spot, the Carolina Panthers, and they're going to address their need, anything we can get on the defensive side of the ball need with Jalen Walker, edge, Georgia. This guy's got a ton of positional versatility. His frame is ready to go in the NFL. He's really, really solid built, and I feel like his skill set will lend itself to their current scheme on defense. They run that 3-4. He'll be able to play outside there in a stand-up role. He can do a number of things for this defense. Jalen Walker, home run. Just pick a Georgia guy every time, man.
And a locker room tone setter. I feel like that's a team that was kind of in flux, or has been, in terms of just like lacking leadership vacuum of late. And he's a guy that would bring that certainly to the defensive side of the ball. All right, number 9, New Orleans Saints. A lot of different ways they could go with this pick. I chose to go to T-Mac, the Arizona wide receiver, Ted Tyrell and McMillan, because one, I think he's the top player on my draft board right now. I am 6th overall. I think he is a slam dunk possession receiver in the NFL. Red zone threat, chain mover, and you're a New Orleans Saints offense that has just like skinny speed guys.
Speedsters.
It's like Chris Olave, Brandon Cooks, Rashid Shaheed. Every single one of them ran a sub 4.4 coming out of the draft. Every single one of them's like under 190 pounds. So who runs the goal line fade? Who runs the slant on a 3rd and 6? I don't trust any of those guys to do it. That's what they ran into. They ran into serious problems when they couldn't do their play-action deep ball stuff. When teams took that away, there was no second act for the Saints offense a year ago. T-Mac gives you a second act. He gives you a first act. The guy is the number 1 type of wide receiver and just makes that receiving core insane for whoever is buying quarterback.
And Mike, T-Mac is what he's wanting to be called.
T-Mac,
You
sorry,
walked
not
me through
Tat.
this the other day. So
Not Tat.
What are the don't do's for T-Mac's name?
Don't call him Tat. Don't say he doesn't love football because he doesn't watch NFL tape. That clip was going around. The viral clip. I don't know if you saw it.
I didn't watch NFL tape until I got into the league. I watched
a lot
my
of guys
brother.
don't.
I
You'd
watch
be
my brother
surprised.
sometimes.
Yes, but if you're locked in at practice and if you have his talent, which by all accounts he is, that guy's going to be special.
Okay. You know what this means. The number 10 pick is up.
Chicago.
The Chicago Bears, which is a special pick for me. I've never announced a Chicago Bears pick, but I hope that whoever announces it, this week is going to be doing the same name I'm doing. Tyler Warren, tight end, Penn State.
Lost steam behind
We met this dude. Huge. Big guy.
Yeah.
Big boy. Looks like all he ate was corn. You heard the phrase corn fed? This guy has never had anything that isn't corn, okay? He walked across the stage, and I peed myself a little bit. And then I realized he also lines up in the backfield at the quarterback position. You can run him in that Taysom Hill type role. He's Taysom Hill if Barry Bonds' trainer got a hold of him, essentially. He's just big. He's bad. He loves football. And when I hear Ben Johnson and Ryan Poles and Ian Yates Cunningham have been locked in a room watching film of all the top prospects, and there was one guy who really stopped them in their tracks as a football dude, which is what Chicago loves, football dudes. Tyler Warren is that. In Ben Johnson's offense, he's going to be electric.
One of the greatest compliments you can give in the scouting community is calling someone a football player. Now, obviously, they're all playing football, but they're not all football players.
Yep.
Tyler Warren's a football player.
Like Derek Jeter was a baseball player.
Exactly. Yes.
You don't just get that.
Tyler Warren, football player. The guy loves it. The guy plays the game the correct way. He blocks his butt off. He is physical as can be after the catch. He knows where to be. He's on the same page with his quarterback 24/7. And for all the people being like, why didn't he start till he was a senior? Well, he was behind Brenton Strange and Theo Johnson. Those guys are starting tight ends in the NFL.
I didn't start till I was a senior.
Do not worry too much about that, because once he did get the reins, once he did get that Title I role, guy had one of the greatest seasons in college football history at the tight end position. Going number 10 to the Chicago Bears here. All right, 49ers. A lot of different ways you can go here. I debated. My options here were Derek Harmon, the Oregon defensive tackle, or Mike Green, the Marshall edge. I lent with Mike Green because I just think they don't have as many options on the edge as they do on the interior, even if they don't have great options at either right now. But Mike Green is a great immediate impact guy, in my opinion. He can be a plus pass rusher right out the gate. He is that caliber an athlete. He's that skilled already. He led the FBS in sacks last year. And it's not just that he was, playing the competition Marshall faced. He faced some high level, he faced Ohio State last year, and he looked pretty darn good in that game. Looked like the best, defensive lineman on that football field in a room that has a lot, or in a field that has a lot of guys who are going to get drafted in this year's class. So Mike Green, extremely talented, goes to the 49ers, who have this massive, massive need outside of Nick Bosa on that defensive line.
I have a thought about guys from these schools that aren't necessarily the blue chip universities that we know and love as football schools. When I went to the Senior Bowl, it was with Eric Fisher was the MVP of the Senior Bowl. Where did Eric Fisher go?
Central Michigan.
Okay. Max Crosby, where did he play?
Eastern Michigan.
Okay. Sonoma State. What was that? Like Walter Jones or Larry Allen? Larry Allen, maybe. Something crazy small. Let me just tell you, these football players, they can come from anywhere. Mm-hmm. And when you see it, you know it on film, and you take it. I played with Khalil Mack. He went to Buffalo, dude. The guy's built of... another cobblestone built dude. So,
and Mike Green is another one of those. I always love prospects who put on 40 plus pounds in college. Mike Green came to Virginia, his first school, 210-pound linebacker, over 250 pounds. Now, when guys really transform their body, because it ain't easy, right? It takes some dedication and some hard work to do what he did, to get from 210 to 250. And it shows.
And do it the right way.
Yes, and to look lean.
Anybody, you come hang out with me for a weekend. I can bring you from 210 to 260, okay? Or your money back guaranteed. But if you do it the right way, it's a different ball game we're talking about. Okay, so different ball game. The Dallas Cowboys, they're looking to have a different ball game. That's why they got a new coach.
Yes.
Some would say it's a stupid decision. Mike McCarthy was great. But I got Matthew Golden, wide receiver, Texas. Doesn't have to go very far. Really, really fast guy. Opportunity to complement that offense with what they have already at the receiver position in terms of star power. It will lessen the need for CeeDee Lamb to have to do so much ridiculous stuff to be able to get open and get the football all the time. I really think he can step in and contribute immediately for the Dallas Cowboys. And, to be quite honest, I think they can go get a running back later on.
Yes.
So let's not panic, Dallas.
Yeah, Golden completing his traversing of Texas. Started at Houston in his collegiate career, goes to Austin, obviously.
Guy hates airplanes.
Yeah. And now with the Dallas Cowboys at pick 12. To recap, 7 through 12. Jets going Armand Membu, the Missouri offensive tackle. Panthers nab Jalen Walker, the Georgia edge / linebacker. Saints going T-Mac, the Arizona wide receiver. Bears get Tyler Warren, the Penn State tight end. 49ers grab Mike Green, the Marshall edge rusher. And then the Cowboys wrap it off with Matthew Golden, the Texas wide receiver. All right. Picks 13 through 18. Dolphins through the Seahawks. Coming up right after this. We're back with the Push in the Pile mock draft. On to pick number 13, Miami Dolphins, where you could throw a dart at this roster and hit a need. It has become dilapidated in certain spots, but I'm going to attack the cornerback need with obviously the news of Jalen Ramsey requesting a trade. We'll see if that gets done over the course of the weekend. Even if it doesn't get done,
bring him on down.
You still need a cornerback. I'm going Will Johnson, the Michigan corner, a guy who heading into this season, everyone had watched the sophomore tape and said, yeah, I draft that guy top 10 already, just based off of sophomore tape. Now, his junior tape didn't quite match up. He had turf toe, didn't have a pre-draft process in terms of a full testing run. But I'm going to bank on what I saw from that young man in that national championship season, that's what we get out of him in the NFL. And for the Miami Dolphins, really, he's going to be your starting corner. Like, this is like a position where if you don't have him, what are you going to do to stop Josh Allen? What are you going to do to stop any of the quarterbacks in the AFC if you don't have any corners?
Yeah, and that's what I think about when I think about drafting all these spots. Is not necessarily what works for you, but what's not going to work for the other guys that you're playing against. Will Johnson makes that a difficult day at the office for a lot of those teams in division. At number 14, another Michigan man. This is the Colts pick, a tight end, Colston Loveland.
Love it.
You rave about this guy and his ball skills, his explosion, his ability to play the tight end position and be a dynamic threat for the defense. Now, you say everything that Tyler Warren has, this guy's got as well, and in some cases more so. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I fell in love with Tyler Warren, and that's why I had him higher at number 10. But I think Ben Johnson had the same experience that I did. Colston Loveland to the Colts. First off, the Colts is in his first 5 letters of his name.
Yeah, he's almost there.
He's a dyslexic
Colts
Coltson.
Fan. Yeah.
Colston Loveland, tight end, Michigan. That's what they're going to say. When you've got a young quarterback, when you've got questions at the quarterback position, the way to remedy some of those growing pains is to have that safety blanket. And I think this guy right here can be just that for the Colts and what they're trying to accomplish on offense. It'll be interesting to see how he fits in and what they do at the quarterback position moving forward, but Loveland will not be a question mark in that offense.
And I think if you are now, Anthony Richardson, I don't want to say the jury's still out on him, but it's like he needs to show something, right? And very quickly, or else I think, we could be halfway through the season and he's not the starting quarterback anymore. But when you are in that situation where you have that young quarterback, you don't want to find yourself in a scenario where you're like, did we do enough around him? Like the Chicago Bears were for years with Justin Fields, where kind of the Carolina Panthers are right now with Bryce Young, where it's like, we don't know if he's the guy because we have a terrible roster around him and the guy might not look like the guy behind this, right? So I think if you're the Indianapolis Colts and you throw him one more weapon, you give him Colston Loveland and go alongside guys like Michael Pittman Jr., Josh Downs, and Adonai Mitchell, who you drafted last year, that's more than enough to say if he doesn't make a leap this year, that he's not the guy.
Yeah, and it's like, not a wasted investment. Like that investment will be utilized on whoever the next guy is that wears the crown in Indianapolis.
So for the Colts, I love this fit for them. All right, number 15, Atlanta Falcons, where I've gone edge, I think, in every single mock draft I've gone here. I'm not going to... Dude, Falcons fans are probably edging right now. For Michael Williams, the Georgia defensive end, who, don't look at the sack production. He was in the Trayvon Walker role in that defense. He was a 3-4 defensive end more often than not. There are reps, though, of him rushing off the edge, most notably against a guy named Kelvin Banks. He had a forced fumble in that game against Texas.
Oh, boy.
He is long, he is strong, and he knows how to use his hands. I think he's less of a project than people are making him out to be. Less of a project than I'd even call Trayvon Walker coming out. Not as physically gifted, obviously, but a unique frame that is built to win in the NFL. So for the Atlanta Falcons, just best edge available. You don't have to be too picky with it.
What is it, Athens or Rome? Where in Georgia is
it's
Athens?
Athens, yeah.
There's something in the water in Athens, dude. All these Bulldogs are just built a certain type of way. A je ne sais quoi.
It's called 5-star recruiting.
In the water. Yeah, 5-star recruiting. A lot of cash, I would imagine. Headed down there to the UGA locker room, but good for them. All these guys are just NFL ready. I remember when I was in the league, it was Alabama. If anybody came out of Alabama, they were ready to start year one. They were talking that trash that, a lot of these young guys say, my team in college could have beat this team. That's how bad you guys are. And, some of them probably were right. At the number 16 spot, I'm going an Alabama guy.
Good
Tyler
segue.
Booker. What's that?
Great segue.
Okay, Alabama guy Tyler Booker. I fell in love with him when I saw him on film pancake a defensive lineman and do a forward roll and land on his feet.
Do a barrel roll. People
often think that guards, tackles, centers, any of these offensive linemen, they're lumbering, they're not athletic. This guy disproved that theory to me in the first 5-10 plays I was watching of him. He loves the game of football. He understands leverage. His ability to double team in conjunction with the guy next to him and understands being one half of a blocking assignment on these double teams is great. And for the Arizona Cardinals, you've got a quarterback who, let's just face it, he's not a very tall guy, okay? And what do you want for a not tall quarterback? You want a solid dish on the interior part of your offensive line. I always mention Drew Brees and the offensive line that he had. It was built inside out. Carl Nicks, Jari Evans, keep the interior of the dish strong so that little guy back there doesn't have to panic. He can see everything. Tyler Booker will make sure you're not panicking.
He has elite tape and pass protection, in my opinion. And if you're the Arizona Cardinals, looking at their guard position right now, Evan Brown at left guard, that's a massive upgrade. You have a chance of a double team combo though with him and Paris Johnson that could be special. And your blind side's clean for a decade, right? That is, you pick him. Kyler Murray won't have to worry about that in
what
an
it does
Arizona
to your
Cardinals
run
uniform.
game too, front side and back side. It's unbelievable.
So Tyler Booker, I would love that pick if I was a Cardinals fan. Number 17, Cincinnati Bengals. I have them going Oregon defensive tackle Derek Harmon. I've seen mocks where he's going at the back end in the first round. I don't buy it at all. I think this is his floor. Now, I'm going to say it. I think this is his floor. I don't think he falls to pick 21 like people are saying to the Steelers or to the early 20s. I just don't see it. He has everything you want in a defensive tackle prospect. He is the most versatile defensive tackle in this draft class. Look at that body type right there. When you can see definition in a DT's arms the way you can in his, that guy's going to move people. That guy's going to move people at the NFL level. He did at the collegiate level.
Big, strong arms.
2 gap, 1 gap. He can do it all. And his testing, man, going sub 5 seconds in the 40-yard dash at 315 pounds, he's a player.
You know what? When we're doing this draft thing, less picks of arms. I want to see more butts and thighs on here, okay?
He's got those too.
Folks in the control room, if we can get some more glutes on the screen for Derek Harmon, it might prove our point a little bit.
Get the end zone copy of all 22.
You talk about the definition in his arms, and I just think about the competition that he played against. And some guys, whether they look like they can go or not, they can just go based on what you see on tape. Derek Harmon's done it for a while. I think it fits. And at the number 18 pick here, we've got the Seattle Seahawks. And I was on the app formerly known as Twitter this past weekend, and I was having a couple conversations with people about offensive line prospects. And people are latching on to some things that I've said about Kelvin Banks. And while you probably should do that because I'm right until proven wrong, Kelvin Banks is a really good player, and if he's available at number 18, and the Seattle Seahawks are there obviously still, and there's been no trades made, they should jump at the opportunity to get the University of Texas offensive tackle. I think he's game ready. He is somebody that can help settle Sam Darnold down in his new city. New team, new organization. He's used to having good tackles. We saw that last year in Minnesota. It's never a bad thing to go get an offensive lineman. I know John Schneider has been outspoken at times about the lack of value, in his opinion, at the offensive line, particularly the interior. Well, if you're not into interior, go get an exterior offensive lineman.
I love Kelvin Banks. He's the top offensive tackle on my board. I think he is just a really, really good all-around offensive lineman. For the Seahawks specifically, I think you kick him left guard, put him next to Charles Cross, where you have Salatoa Laumea plugged right now. But you could even, Abraham Lucas has had so many injury issues at right tackle. Obviously, when that tackle duo is healthy, it's a quality duo, but Abe Lucas just never seems to be. So maybe he's your right tackle and Abe Lewis becomes a swing tackle, and you feel like you can find answers on the interior with Christian Haynes, who you drafted in the 3rd round a year ago. So we'll see.
Crazy draft because Will Campbell went 4 in our mock, and Kelvin Banks is the top-rated tackle.
So that's how I see these. It feels like one of those, like 2020. Like 2022, where there's just a group. In 2020, it was Tristan Wirfs, Andrew Thomas, Jedrick Wills, Mekhi Becton. 2022, it was Evan Neal, Ike Ekwonu, Charles Cross, right? And in both of those classes, the last tackle drafted of them ended up being the best one, Tristan Wirfs, Charles Cross. So we shall see how that ends up faring out in this one. But it's not a bad year to need an offensive tackle A lot of these guys on the rise. All right, the picks 13 through 18. Dolphins go Will Johnson, the Michigan corner. Colts go Colston Loveland, the Michigan tight end. Falcons go Michael Williams, the Georgia edge. Cardinals go Tyler Booker, the Alabama guard. Bengals, Derek Harmon, defense tackle from Oregon. Then the Seahawks grab Kelvin Banks, the Texas offensive tackle. Picks 19 through 25. The Bucs through the Texans coming up right after this. All right, we're rolling through the push in the pile mock draft here. On to pick 19 with the Bucs. I got him going Malachi Starks, the Georgia safety, one of my favorite fits in this draft class because you're pairing him with Antoine Winfield Jr. Malachi Starks is one of the headiest, smartest, highest football IQs, whatever you want to call it, players in this draft class. The guy knows how to play ball, and he goes to pair with a safety who has all those green flags as well, all those intangibles. You get two of those guys in the back end, it's just going to be tough to generate explosive plays against this Bucs defense with that kind of duo roaming on the backside.
Okay, at number 20, I've got the Denver Broncos. Omarion Hampton, running back, University of North Carolina. First off, can we just tip our cap to that beautiful jersey? And then we're going to talk about the Denver Broncos, their offensive play style, the progression of Bo Nix, the things that I saw him doing from a mobility standpoint at the end of the year lends itself to really continuing to solidify that running game. And when I take a look at that offensive line, it's one of the best in football, not lauded as often as some of these groups like, Buffalo and Philadelphia, but they're up there. They got a great unit. Give them a running back like this Omarion Hampton gentleman, and Bo Nix gets better. The offense gets better. He'll be a fan favorite from the very beginning.
All right, on 21, Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm going Jaxson Dart, the Ole Miss QB. I know a lot of people want Shedeur. We haven't had Shedeur come off the board, but the arm strength is tipping the scales here towards Jaxson Dart, in my opinion. Because now, if you're the New Orleans Saints and you play in a dome, you play in the South, I would have Shedeur over Dart. But this is the AFC North. You're outside 8 games a year. More than that. You're outside for all 8 of your home games, and then 6 more games in that division in the North.
Colorado people are writing you
division
emails
of football
saying
right
that
now.
We play outside too.
So, well, it ain't the same. You don't play in December though.
Yeah.
You do in the NFL. You play 4 of them. So Jaxson Dart, to me, the arm strength tips the scales, and the reports are that they didn't love Shedeur, that they're not going to go Shedeur, and that they have a higher ground Dart. So let's see.
Jaxson Dart, I love him. I saw him swing a golf club at Topgolf on the internet, on the interwebs one time, and I was like, sold. That guy's a winner. He swings the club at like Rory speed. I think he
hip mobility.
Sling that football a little bit. Okay, so where are we now? Number Chargers. 22, the Los Angeles Chargers, the artist formerly known as the Qualcomm Chargers. Emeka Egbuka, wide receiver, Ohio State. I've been practicing at calling games recently, and I did a fake practice game last week, and it was Chargers-Bengals. What a game that was, by the way. Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, and I just think about Justin Herbert and adding more weapons to his skill set. And obviously, Ladd McConkey is doing a great job. They got Palmer, they've got Johnston, a number of guys who can catch the football. Add this dude in there, and it gives you that true elite receiver ability, and then all the other guys become compliments, and Ladd McConkey will even further flourish. I just think it's a home run. Bring him to L.A., let him ride.
And Herbert has had so many problems with receivers just not being on the same page, being unreliable. Egbuka, as reliable as it gets in this draft class. All right, I got Shadé Barron going 23 to the Green Bay Packers. I get a number of different ways they could go here, but if he's on the board, just feels like what they're missing in that cornerback group. Honestly, he feels like Jair Alexander. Like, I've seen comps to him. I don't think it's like a perfect one-to-one comp, but he plays with that same sort of tenacity, plays with that same sort of ferocity. Juice. Unbridled terror on the back end that he plays with, that he's going to still in wide receivers. And if you even keep Jair, keep him on the roster. Having 2 of those guys doesn't sound like a bad idea, in my opinion, if you're trying to win a championship and you're Green Bay Packers. So, Shadé Barron is the picker.
I just came up with a saying. You know what? You just throw a straw in that orange. That's just pure juice right there, son. That guy just goes, son. You like that back there? Okay.
I heard groans from the control room.
Okay. So 24, the Minnesota Vikings. Okay. I've often talked about 2 things that I'm reminded of with the Vikings. Scheme, because they have a brilliant coach, and skill, because they've got the dynamic superstar there in Justin Jefferson, and they've got a number of guys who can really go. I want to add some brawn, okay? Gray Zabel, he gives you brawn, he gives you versatility. North Dakota State doesn't have to go very far, has to go past Fargo, I believe. I'd have to go reference a map, but I think Fargo is like that border area. Gray Zabel, this is a guy from a small school that took the opportunity to go down to Mobile, Alabama and play in the Senior Bowl. Stop me when I'm wrong. He's a tackle. He played guard. He played center. He kicked ass at every single one of these positions against people from better schools with bigger enrollment. The guy's probably never made an NIL buck in his life. This may be the most hungry guy in the draft. I want him on my team. You can see by his picture in the bottom left, the lower third, as they say in the production room, that is a mustache. When he walks into the offensive line room and tells people that his name is Gray Zabel, he went to North Dakota State, he can play any position, and oh yeah, I've got the Doc Holliday mustache. I'd say you can sit next to me, my man, okay? Welcome.
3.5 hour drive down 94 in Minnesota to from Minneapolis to Fargo, where NDSU is. All right. Last pick here before we got to go to break. Texans going Walter Nolan, the Mississippi defensive tackle. I love this guy's tape. The missing piece. If you wanted to add one guy in this draft class to take this Texans defensive line from, very, very good to best in the NFL, this is the guy. He is a special, explosive defensive tackle, 3 technique sort of prospect that the sky really is as high for him as anyone in this defensive tackle class, but may fall down boards for one reason or the other, but he falls all the way to pick 25. A slam dunk, home run, whatever you want to call a pick here for the Houston Texans. All right, picks 19 through 25. Bucks go Malachi Starks. Broncos, Amarion Hampton. Steelers grab Jackson Dart, the Ole Miss QB. Chargers, Emeka Egbuka. Packers get Jahdae Barron. Texas corner. Vikings get Gray Zabel, NDSU interior offensive lineman. And the Texans wrap it out with Walter Nolan, the Mississippi DT. All right, we're going to wrap up the first round of this mock draft. Coming up right after this. All right, we're wrapping up the first round, pushing the pile mock draft here. Getting to pick 26, Los Angeles Rams. Kyle, you're on the clock.
Maxwell Hairston, cornerback, Kentucky. Now, I know that people aren't like, yeah, he's the best corner that we've ever seen, but this guy runs a 4.28, and I'll be honest with you, they need corners in Los Angeles. They've got a lot of young guys in the secondary there, and if you're going to have youth, you might as well have a lot of youth, so you got options there. And I know it's at number 26, you're going to want one of these flashy positions, but at the corner position, I think you can never have too many corners. And
the Rams just don't have man corners, man. He is a man corner. Maxwell Hairston can go mano-a-mano. He has those sort of traits. They don't have that, so they don't try to play man. But it's not because you don't want to, or don't need to, or don't have to at times. You definitely do. There are situations where if you're not playing man, you're behind the 8 ball. But don't have that. So Maxwell Hairston, the pick there, 26. All right, 27. I have the Baltimore Ravens. This guy's fallen. I've seen him fallen in a lot of mock drafts of late. His range of where he could go is all the way from pick 9 to down here realistically, and it's Shamar Stewart, the defensive end from Texas A&M, because I think the book's out on him. Everyone knows he is the most explosive, impressive athlete in this defensive end class. He is also the least productive pass rusher in this defensive end class of the real top guys, right? So who's going to take that chance? I don't know. If I'm going to trust anyone's track record of developing those sort of talents, it's the Baltimore Ravens. They've been exceptional at it. So, Shamar Stewart to the Ravens.
Okay, Shamar Stewart. I'm really looking forward to watching that guy play in the league because there's going to be so many questions that are going to be answered.
Those are my favorite guys. Just watching
Willie Lampkin on the offensive side of the ball, the 5'11" center. He's 260 pounds, 5'11", and he's out there kicking ass in college. I'm interested to see if it works. And for this guy, Shamar Stewart, who's built like an absolute Adonis, I want to find out if it can translate. So that's the Ravens at 27. The Lions have the 28th pick. It's going to be Josh Connerly Jr., offensive tackle, University of Oregon. Now, they've already got an Oregon man in this offensive line. They've got some aging. They've got some seniors in that room. Obviously, one of the guard spots is up for grabs there. But you can maintain that level of dominance on your offensive line. You bring a guy like Josh Connerly in there. He can plug in at the guard position immediately. And when Taylor Decker ends up taking all those chips he's stacked up for this entire decade and goes home, Josh Connerly can maybe slide in there. I think that Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes, they've got a vision for what they're trying to get accomplished in Detroit, and part of it is investing in the offensive line. We talked at length this offseason about how expensive these O-linemen are getting, and the more guys you can have on a rookie deal, the more guys you're not paying $26 million a year for, the better spot you're going to be in.
All right, at number 29, I have the Washington Commanders going Nick Emmanwori, the South Carolina safety, a unique matchup weapon in this draft class. 6'3", over 220 pounds, and oh yeah, he ran in the 4.3s at the combine. Uber explosive, great tackler, just a unique piece to add to Dan Quinn's defense that he can use as a mismatch weapon there.
Okay, so we got Boston College edge rusher coming up next for the Buffalo Bills. And, you know, I think this is just more of a need for the Buffalo Bills than necessarily some prototypical
Dude, look at those arms.
Guy that you have. And obviously, Donovan's not struggling on looking prototypical here physically. But for the Buffalo Bills, what they've been lacking has been a true pass rush, a true winner on the edge. It will complement what they're able to achieve on the interior part of their defense in a great way. We obviously love their off-ball linebackers. We love their attacking defense, the versatility they have on the back end. You throw a guy like this in there, and it really makes all your tools that much sharper.
It's an arms race, and adding those could help.
Donovan Ezeuruaku.
All right, number 31, Kansas State Chiefs. I'm going Josh Simmons, the Ohio State offensive tackle. Not that he's going to start right away. Obviously, I think like him and Connerly, I think the biggest difference between them and like the top guys is that you know, with him, he obviously has the injury to his patella where he might not be ready to go his rookie season. Connerly, a little bit more of a project, but I think their, you know, quote unquote ceilings, or what they could be, year 3 is just as high as the top group we're talking about. Armand Membu, Will Campbell, Kelvin Banks, like those guys that consistently get mocked top 10 to 12. I don't see much difference from a physical tools perspective between them, Connerly, and Simmons. It's just the sort of, you know, how quickly can they make an impact. But with Simmons and the Kansas City Chiefs, yeah, there's other positions you could go, but I think you're shooting for a high ceiling sort of pick here that you'll get a discount because of that patellar injury.
Okay. The last pick here for the Super Bowl champions. Obviously, an exodus there in Philadelphia. A lot of players out the door. That's the cost to be the boss for the Philadelphia Eagles there in terms of roster construction. Jihad Campbell is going to be available. And we love this guy. He is somebody that has played a number of different positions in his career. He was a wide receiver in high school. He was a defensive end.
Not surprising.
You know, he's out there at the linebacker position. You see his 24-season stats. He can get to the quarterback. He's a great tackler. He's somebody that's productive, seemingly a leader. Obviously, we don't know this guy, but you can plug any of these dudes into Philadelphia, and Vic Fangio will find a way to make them even more dangerous. And you bring in this youth, and they learn together, they grow together. You think about the defensive front. Yeah, they're in their second and third years together. Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter. But then you think about Dean. You think about all these dudes on that defense. They're going to grow together. Get as many stars together as possible. And then next thing you know, you got that Chicago Bears 2000s defense that are together forever. It's all the same names. You can get that with a guy like John Campbell. You got your
Patrick Willis, Navarro Bowman combo there for Vic Fangio, although I'm not sure anyone's ever touching Patrick Willis. All right, to recap, 26-32. Rams go Maxwell Harrison, the Kentucky corner. Ravens go Shamar Stewart, the Texas A&M edge. Lions, Josh Connerly, the Oregon offensive tackle. Commanders go Nick Emmanwori, the South Carolina safety. Bills, Donovan Ezeuruaku, the edge out of Boston College. Chiefs go Josh Simmons, the Ohio State offensive tackle. And the Eagles round it out with Jihad Campbell, the Alabama linebacker. Drafts on Thursday. Can't wait for you guys to join us. We'll be doing That Other pregame show on Wednesday, and we'll be doing Pushing the Piles all week long. Until next time, keep pushing.